Hello, welcome to Covering Sports with Prince, and in this segment today I'm going to be touching on Jude Bellingham. Is Jude Bellingham overrated? Now we're going to rewind a little bit. Jude Bellingham moved to Borussia Dortmund in 2020. So 2020 to 2021 was his first season with Borussia Dortmund. The season before that at Birmingham in the Championship. In his last season before moving to Borussia Dortmund for 25 million, they finished in 20th place. And anyone that's not aware, that was Jude Bellingham's first season with Birmingham. He came through the Birmingham ranks, but that was his first full season. And in the league, he made 41 appearances. He scored 4 goals, which is not bad for a breakout season, considering his age and considering it being his first season. But he played mostly in a pivot. Birmingham adopted a 4-4-2 formation, and Bellingham played in the pivot, and he was more so used as a box-to-box, which was the same when he moved to Borussia Dortmund, but they played a 4-2-3-1. Sometimes he was in the pivot with Emre Can, sometimes he was in the pivot with Witsel, and when being in the midfield with Witsel and the likes of Can, he had more freedom to move up and down the pitch, but for the most part, it was still in and around that area that he occupied whilst he was playing. And in his first season for Borussia Dortmund in the league, he scored 1 goal, he got 3 assists. In the Champions League, he had 10 appearances, 1 goal, 1 assist. And in the DFB Pokal, I believe that season they made it to the finals, which is a big achievement. He scored 2 goals. So I say that to say this: Jude Bellingham has never been the player that was the best technically gifted. He's never been the player that, okay, when we want something to happen, we're going to pass Jude Bellingham the ball. Or when we want a player to create magic, we're going to pass Jude Bellingham the ball. Jude Bellingham has always been the legs in the team. He's always been the player that plays with high intensity. He's always been the player that goes in for the challenge. He's always been the player that take the ball and carry the ball up the pitch a couple yards and then set it off to another player. But as his career progressed, he obviously improved. His following season, he played 32 games in the league, scored 3 goals and got 8 assists. Now, these are the times now Jude Bellingham's strength started to become utilised now. He's getting more into the box. He's getting into situations where he can have a shot at goal. So now this is where Jude Bellingham is starting to grow into the player that he has now become. A player that can get an assist, a player that can get a goal, being in the right place at the right time, having that awareness in and around the box. However, he's not the creative player that everyone's making it out to be. He's not a player like a Phil Foden. He's not a player like a Modric. He's not a player like a Toni Kroos. He's not a player like Zidane. He's not that type of player where creativity, passing ability is concerned. So I view Jude Bellingham as a player with great engine that can get up and down the pitch well, that can tackle, that can carry the ball up the pitch. A person that's dangerous in and around the box, as we've seen many times for England. He's created magic and he scored in big moments for both England and Real Madrid. We've seen that. And progressing on to his last season with Borussia Dortmund, 2022 to 2023 season in the Bundesliga, he played 31 games, got 8 goals, 5 assists. Champions League, 7 appearances, 4 goals, 1 assist. And the DFB Pokal, that they won 4 appearances, 2 goals and 1 assist. So we see his game now starting to evolve now, where he's becoming that threat in and around the box, getting into those positions like previously stated. Now, 2023, he's made his move to Real Madrid for 88.5 million, I believe it was. And that season was his best season. He won the Champions League, he won the league, he won the Golden Boy in 2023 also. And his stats jumped tremendously. In the La Liga, he played 28 games, scored 19 goals, had 6 assists. In the Champions League, played 11 games, 4 goals, 5 assists. So it was evident, the jump in his game, the elevation in his tallies. And that's because Zidane sensed and identified the type of midfielder Jude Bellingham was. He didn't play Bellingham in the pivot. Bellingham don't really thrive in the pivot. So you will play Jude Bellingham higher up the pitch. Sometimes you'll play Jude Bellingham as a false nine. You'll play Jude Bellingham as a cam. And that's when the world really started to see Jude Bellingham as a goal-scoring midfielder because of that season. Like, okay, he's more effective off the pitch. He's more effective in these positions and these situations. So the brilliance of Zidane was able to identify that and therefore utilize them in that manner. So I say that to say this. Is Jude Bellingham overrated? In terms of his accolades, what he has achieved, Golden Boy, Champions League, winning the league, all at such a young age, going to the Euro finals, all of the above, I would say, no, he's not overrated because the achievements that he has accomplished so far in his career at such a young age is commendable and nothing should be taken away. But in terms of footballing ability, I would say yes, he's overrated. Again, I'm not taking away from what he's done, the big moments he's turned up for England, the big moments he's turned up for Real Madrid and Borussia Dortmund. I'm talking about ball ability, technical ability. I think there's so much more players that have better ball quality than Jude Bellingham. But obviously Jude Bellingham having the accolades behind everything, it amplifies his position as a player, which I understand. But if you're just stripping away the accolades, you're stripping away the Champions League, you're stripping away the Golden Boy, you're just looking at every player individually, talking about technical skill and footballing ability, I would say that Jude Bellingham is overrated. In saying that, thank you for tuning in to Covering Sports with Prince.